Welcome back to Kidsplaining. I'm Daniel. This is Allison.
And today we're asking the question, can kids play Reputation?
Reputation is a new game coming to Kickstarter from Ninjastar Games, who helped sponsor this video. This is a prototype, so some of the things you see here may change in the production copy, but in the game you are taking on the role of CEOs and corporations trying to balance your public reputation with making money. During the game, you will be bidding on a mixture of public sector and private sector projects. The private sector projects give you credits. The public sector projects give you reputation and sometimes credits. At the end of the game, the person with the least reputation is eliminated from scoring, but then the person with the most money wins.
Or credit.
But it's a really interesting mix of balancing those two. You can't just go all for reputation or else you'll make it to scoring, but you'll lose.
Yep.
And you can't go for all profits. Otherwise, you'll be eliminated before you even have a chance to win for all the money that you made during the game. So
yeah, the balance is really interesting. Now, we're set up right here for a two-player, but this is not a two-player game. This is just for setup purposes and what could fit on the table reasonably. This is a 3 to 5 player game. And like Daniel said, you are utilizing your CEOs and your businesses. So when you set up, everyone gets their headquarters mat here, where you've got your little person holding their headquarters, and then you have these meeples, which are your workers. You also pick a CEO and a corporation. Now, you can mix and match these. We just kept the same color to go with our meeple workers and with our CEOs. Now, the CEOs, they have agendas on them, which is some of them are one time in the game, and some of them you can use up to 3, and sometimes just ongoing in the game. So they have an agenda, and that's unique to your CEO. And your corporations give you a one-time benefit that you can use by the end of the game.
Yep. So the way this game works is, again, everyone has their player mat with their meeples. Those are what you are going to use to bid during the game. And the number of meeples you have depends on how many players are playing. With 3 players, everyone would have all 10. With 4 players, you would have 9. And with 5 players, you would have 8 meeples to bid with. And then the game comes with public and private sector projects. You take 10 of each and make a stack of them. And then each round, you are going to flip over one of each. And then the way they work is these are the public sector projects. They have the reputation that you gain by winning that. They have the number of meeples that can be bid. And then they have the number of credits that it is worth. Now, something that's really interesting with this game is at the beginning of the bidding round, only the public projects have money attached to them. So the way this works is the number right here is the number of workers that have to be bid on this project. So if I'm red, I would bid 3 workers on this project. And then when I bid on this, I have to move at least 1 credit from the public to the private sector project.
That is how the private sector projects get credits.
Yes. So I'm going to say I'm going to move 2 credits over.
Okay.
And then yellow could come and say, okay, well, they want to outbid me. I move my people back to the player mat.
Yeah, he gets his meeple workers back automatically when you've been outbid.
Yep. And then yellow could say, okay, I want to move 1, or in there you can make change. You're not bound to the 5. But let's say yellow decides to move 1. So now red comes, they have all of theirs, and they're going to bid 3 on this. And you go back and forth until everybody passes.
Now this is a 2-player, so there's always at least one more player who's also bidding as well. It's not just between 2 players. So that another player could then put 4 on here because you always have to outbid.
And outbid that. Now again, you never outbid, you only match the bid on
the public.
So so red could come in their next turn, and if yellow passes and says, hey, I'm going to bid 3 and move everything over. Once there are no credits left on the public project, that project cannot be outbid anymore because you can only bid if you can move stuff over. And now players are going to bid on the private project right here. And again, it would normally have 3 players, be more going on than this. But let's say for the sake of this demonstration that red wins, that let's say red had to bid 6 in order to win that by the end of the round. So red now has 8 credits. Red takes this private project and is going to put it in their player mat face down. Again, at the end of the game, red is going to lose 2 reputation, but that's hidden from everyone else.
Right.
So that they can't keep track, and you kind of, at the end of the game, you calculate all of that.
You will notice, though, that he kept his workers on that project. Those workers are there working on that project.
Yes.
They will eventually go back to your headquarters and you can reuse them, but currently they are still at that project.
Yes. So now you have this public sector project, which red also won, but after the bidding round, the players on either side of the player who won it have the chance to bid to co-sponsor that project, in which case they will also gain the reputation for it. They don't get any credits from it, but they do get the reputation.
Right.
The way that works was also really interesting. It was a little weird at first, but we ended up really enjoying this mechanic.
Yes.
The kids really liked it. So what you do is the two players who are bidding on that declare how many meeples they have.
So I would pick up all my meeples.
And now I have these blue
table.
meeples to represent the person on the other
Right.
side. You put it under the table and pick out how many you want to bid. Hold that in one hand, hold the others in your other hand. You have to be very clear about which hand you're bidding with, so you can't kind of hold them both out and see what happens
Right.
and quickly react. And then you say, okay, 3, 2, 1. Okay, so yellow won this one. Blue lost that one. So yellow wins the right to co-sponsor this project. Now, at the same time, the person who actually won this project is going to take this token here. They're also going to hide it in a hand, and that's the tiebreaker. So they hold it on either side.
Yeah. So say we both had two workers.
Yes. So then they reveal, and if it's a tie, this person over here would co-sponsor that project.
The person who won that bid, the workers that they placed to bid go to that project. So that's why I put these yellow meeples here. So this project is currently between these two corporations.
And then at the beginning of each round, so the first round you wouldn't do this, but at the beginning of each subsequent round, you are going to move one worker from each of these three positions back to here. So if you only have a private sector project, you would move one worker up here. If you have a public sector on this side and this side, you would move one in each. And then at the end of the round, any workers that are right here will move back into your available pool of workers that can be bid.
Yeah, and this goes for 10 rounds because that is the projects that you have. So once your project decks run out, then the game is over. Now, you count up at the end of the game your reputation. Whoever has the least amount of reputation is then eliminated immediately. And then the remaining players then count up their credits or their money, and then whoever has the most of the money credits wins.
And you can gain reputation again through public sector projects, and then you get these reputation tokens from your CEO's abilities, and then you lose reputation for this on the private sector projects. So that's an overview of how the game actually plays. Now on the Can Kids Play side, the first thing we always talk about is the theme and the artwork of the game.
This is definitely not a cutesy game. This is very industrial and very black and white, straightforward. There's not really any fluff. So that will be represented then in this artwork. There's nothing questionable. I don't see anything questionable. It is a business meeting, and that's how it feels. That's how it's represented in the art. A futuristic business meeting, but that's what it is, and it plays well with the game. It's not distracting with the gameplay.
So that's the theme of the artwork. The next thing we want to talk about is language dependence. The only place that really shows up is on your CEO and corporation cards. You have to, obviously, your agenda and then your ability, you have to be able to read both of those. But in the actual core gameplay, the bidding, things like that, there's a little bit of flavor text on each of the project cards, but none of it is required for the game. Your actual gameplay is just these icons right here, and then meeples.
And the good thing about this is it's all public knowledge. So if your child really wants to play, loves bidding games like that, and they're struggling with reading, you can still read to them and remind them what their agendas are and remind them what their corporation businesses can do for them because it's all public knowledge.
Yeah, because the abilities can be a little bit confusing. Some of them they've required even amongst the adults just say, hey, make sure I'm understanding this right. So but you can help them with that. You can explain it because, again, it is public knowledge, and you remind them, hey, don't forget you get to do that once, or if they have a question they can ask. They're not revealing any hidden information. Right. So as far as language dependence, it is only in these cards right here. The core gameplay doesn't require it.
Now, the next one we like to talk about is math. There is math involved in this game because you are adding and subtracting. When it comes to your reputation, you are adding what you've got, and then you're subtracting then what you get negative points with your private sectors. Most of that happens at the end of the game. If you want to mentally keep note, you can do that privately if you want, or if your child, say, wants help with that, you can help them just calculate all that. But that's where the math is involved in this.
Memory. I'm going to say memory is not going to do you any good unless you have a really good memory, because you are allowed to keep your credit tokens face down.
Yeah, that's why I have
your
these.
Your private sector projects are face down, public sector projects are face up, and if you co-sponsor more than one public sector project, you overlap them like that so you can see the running total. So you can kind of see who has gained reputation and what reputation has been gained by each player, but you don't see what they've lost, and you don't see how much money they have or how many credits they have. So unless you just have like a photographic memory and you're going to be able to remember all of that, it's not going to serve you well. You just need to make sure that you balance your stuff fine.
One of the games that I played, it looked like I had a lot of reputation built up, but I ended up having 4 private sector projects going on, and I think 2 of those were a -4. And so I ended up getting eliminated, even though I looked like I was in the lead. Those negative points added up really quick.
In the last game that we played, I mean, I would have tied for first on money, but I was like horribly behind on reputation. So I got eliminated from the running for even winning the game because my reputation was so low. And I didn't ever check to kind of count up and see how much I had lost here. I just looked and said, oh, I've got a whole lot of reputation from my public sector projects. I've got a few tokens here. I'm good. And then forgot that I had bid on 2 -4 projects earlier in the game.
Right. We do probably need to talk about complexity and confrontation together.
Yes. Well, at confrontation, the whole game is confrontation.
It's all confrontational.
The whole game is outbidding other people,
Right.
but there's no cards that like let you take money from other people. There's no take that element to the game, other than
really.
you
You're
are just
outbidding.
The whole game is bidding. So the whole game is so if you have a child or an adult who doesn't deal well with being outbid and thinking they're doing great, and someone comes in and outbids them, it's not going to be a game for them. So yeah, from confrontation, the whole game is bidding.
Right.
So
that's
it is built into the game.
The complexity and strategy is very unique in this game. And I really love how it balances out with the reputation and the money. Like we said before, if you have the lowest reputation, that's calculated first. If you have the lowest, you're eliminated. So it doesn't matter where your money or your credits lie. But yet you don't want to only focus on your reputation. You need to focus on your credits as well so that you can win in both of those. It gives it really unique balance. And then also paying attention to what the workers other people have in their headquarters to know how they're available to bid. If I have 4 workers available and Daniel only had 3, I know that I can put 3 workers out and he can't outbid me because that's his max.
Right.
So I really, really like that thinking concept, that strategy in being aware of what other people are able to invest to see where you're going to put your own investment.
Yeah. And the other element that comes into the complexity a lot is balancing, and we've both made this mistake on separate games, of going too aggressive. And I mentioned earlier the punishing early aggressiveness. If you go all in on the first or second private sector project and dedicate most of your workers to that, you only get 1 back per round. If you do a good mix of public and private sector, you at least can get 2 or 3 back per round.
Right.
Because remember, at the end of the round, from each of these 3 positions, you're going to move 1 worker, or at the beginning of the round, you're going to move 1 worker back here, and then at the end of the round, they become available again.
For your next round.
So I made the mistake on the last game we played of, I think, bidding 7 or 8 people on a public sector project on round 2. So I didn't even have all of them back until
like the 5th or 6th round.
So I relied heavily on being able to co-sponsor projects, but that only got me 1 or 2 people coming back. So it's just that balance of making sure that you're going to have people available, have workers available to bid was really interesting while we were playing. So this is just a strategic note because we both made this same mistake multiple times in multiple games. You would think once you make this mistake, you wouldn't make it again, but you get kind of caught up in the game, you get numbers jumbled in your head, and it just creates
jumps out at you when that happens.
So let's say yellow comes here and bids
Throws the workers around.
And bids on this project and moves 2 over.
Okay.
And then red come in and say, hey, I'm going to bid 2 right here, which will leave me with 4 workers. Yellow only has 3 workers. I'm going to come here and bid on this and move everything over. And then I also have enough to outbid yellow on the public project, so I can take over both of them, win them, get the reputation, get all the money. And this is assuming the 3rd and 4th player don't have enough to do anything.
They've already passed.
So red comes here, I bid here, I move everything over, and I give yellow 2 back. So now I have 4 and yellow has 5. And then yellow comes and they stick their 4 players there. Again, you can't match a bid, you have to outbid.
Yep.
And now I have just given yellow all of the credits.
All the credits.
And locked myself out of being able to even bid on that project. Right. Now I still get 2 reputation, but I need credits. So it's
now that is a -4, so that was brave of me to take that, but it did have all the credits, so I felt like it would outweigh it.
And it's just really unique, interesting scenarios like that made this game it just kind of, it had a different feel. It had a really fun feel to it as we were playing. It was a different kind of strategy because, again, you can hide your credits, you hide your public sector projects, so you can't keep up with those private sector projects. But your meeples, your workers are public. Everyone can see them. So you can see and just kind of trying to decide, hey, I wonder if Allison, if I do this, is she going to try and outbid me on that, or is she going to wait till the next round, see if something more valuable comes up? So there's a little bit of a mind game to it. Again, all of that plays into the complexity and the strategy because you have to read what other people are doing. It also plays into the math too because you're playing with basic statistics and things like that, probabilities of
teaching probability like that and just investment and stuff like that. It was very unique. Now, we did mention a few times just in explaining the game that if your player passes, you can pass in this game but still be able to step back in if the round is still going. So I thought that was very unique. It's like, okay, I want to see what's going to happen, so I'm going to pass, and then when it comes back around, I'll reevaluate as long as the other players have not passed. If everyone passes, then the round is over.
So there's a risk in doing that, but you can early on. It's pretty safe to sit back and say, okay, I want to see if anyone is aggressive right there. Right. I want to allow someone to move more public sector credits over to this private sector project and then go heavy on that. So there is, the strategy is, and complexity, it's definitely there. It's not a super heavy game, but it does require thinking through and kind of predicting what other people are going to do, but it executes it in a really enjoyable way.
Yeah. And now Downtime, if you don't have workers to put out there, you're kind of twiddling your thumbs just watching things happen.
And that is where early rounds, there's not a lot of downtime because everyone is engaging. If you make the mistake, or if you, even not a mistake, if you make a choice to go heavy on one project and dedicate most of your available workers, then the next round you're probably going to be, if you can't do anything and you have one worker left, then you can kind of, just for kicks and giggles, bid on that private sector project, but you're not going to win.
Just to do something.
Yeah. You're going to get outbid, and then you only have one, so you can't bid anymore. So it really, there's the potential for some downtime. The game tends to move pretty quick.
It does,
And when you get into those later rounds and people have their workers allocated places, and we had a couple that it went through one round, and within one round, everyone that could do something had done it. Everyone was happy with what they could do. So
everyone passed and we were done. So, and then we go into scoring and winning. And again, we've touched on this throughout the whole thing. At the end of the game, when you've done all 10 rounds, you count up your reputation. That is these.
The tokens.
These tokens here, you count them up, but then you also count them up on your projects.
Yep. And you do gain some reputation and some credits at the end of the game based on how many workers you have down in this available area of your player mat, not up here just in the available area down there.
Yeah, so you would tally that up, get whatever additional ones you get, calculate your reputation. Whoever has the lowest reputation is eliminated from the game, no matter how many credits you have, even if it's the most. And those that are remaining count up their credits, and that winner, whoever has the most credits, wins.
Yep. So scoring is straightforward, and the clear winner, whoever has the most credits. It is a really unique mix of elements. I really do like the way that it balances. It's a really good mental challenge to balance earning credits with balancing reputations. Make sure that you're not the person that gets eliminated, because that really stings when you do good on earning credits and then you don't even get to brag about how many credits you had because you got eliminated from scoring. You still do
count them,
and nobody cares.
The winner is like, oh, well, you didn't balance your reputation with your credits. As a parent's perspective on this, watching my kids play this game was very fun because, all right, Peyton, he is 8. He is very good at his problem solving and his balancing, that type of thing. He did very well with this game. He likes games like this.
Yeah, and we have played with both kids. We played with Jared, who is 12, and Peyton, who is 8. Jared has played a game with just us. He played a game with us and another adult. And then Peyton has played a 4-player game with the 2 of us and Jared and himself. Peyton is a really game-savvy 8-year-old. He plays a lot of games. If you have an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old who has played Candylands and Chutes and Ladders, this is probably going to be a really big step up. But I think this is a totally accessible game for especially teenagers, preteen, kind of 10 and up. I think it's a game that will be a really good mental exercise, kind of work those strategy muscles, things like that. It's definitely accessible for those. It's by no means an adults only game.
No, but as an adult, I do really enjoy this game. And as a parent, I liked playing it a lot with the boys. Yeah. Even as a game schooling perspective too, I really liked that brain workout with this game.
Yeah. it just being forced to balance two different equally important elements that balance in different ways. Again, it was just a really good. It's not just a race for the finish. It's not just a let me get as much money or as many points as I possibly can. You really have to balance, or you're going to be disappointed at the end when you just lose because you got eliminated because you didn't have enough reputation. So this is Reputation from Ninjastar Games, coming to Kickstarter. Yeah, this is a prototype, so some of the stuff in this game is subject to change, but coming to Kickstarter soon. We will leave links to all of that below where you can find this game, find more information on it. While you're down there, be sure to hit that subscribe button.
And that like button, and then you can watch a few of our other videos right over here. We will see you later.
Bye.